Okay, so it seems like recently there's been a little bit of a situation going on in terms of VTubers speaking out about censorship. Now, this has been a pretty big one as we've covered many different VTubers talking about this kind of stuff, especially with this kind of Discord thing and everything else. We talked about Saraway and many other VTubers who have been speaking out about it over the past couple of months, including people like Bao. I think Megalodon also spoke out about it. And obviously Lucy Pyre recently has been speaking about it with obviously a new thing that has come out, which people have been noticing, which is a YouTube a post. This is a post that essentially says YouTube will reportedly require a government ID to access the comments starting in 2027. Now, of course, people have been saying, guys, this is a parody account, so this is not a real thing. But it definitely does kind of draw in the topic that this kind of feels real, right? It feels like this could 100% be a thing. Now, again, Hoopscrave usually post a lot of false just kind of posts and just try to essentially rage bait a lot of people, right? But again, this is something so close to the truth, that so close to I guess a probable thing that could happen, that many people believed it. And obviously I think Lucy has also said this, saying, "What, you dare post your opinion? Gonna need some ID for that one, Buster," which obviously I think is quite funny. Now obviously I love you said, "Don't share your name online, but give us your ID." Said, "How am I gonna essay your votes now?" I said, "Oh, you grew up being told to be anonymous on the internet." Yeah, that's illegal now. Now, of course, this is a joke. You will not be required to give your government ID, for them to access the comment section, right? But as I said, it definitely feels like something that is going to happen in the future, or could happen in the future, especially with things like Discord and other places like Twitch as well, employing a lot of verification methods. For example, like the Persona verification kind of like company, or whatever you want to call it, that works with so many different social media platforms, that ended up getting a lot of stuff leaked. And even worse, I'm pretty sure, they ended up kind of taking a lot of that, which again I think is absolutely crazy. And also they were like willingly giving the information to like governments and things like that. They were like giving away your information, despite saying that they wouldn't hold on to it, despite saying that they wouldn't hold on to stuff like your face, right? And that's a big concern for a lot of VTubers, facial scans and that kind of ID kind of checking way of things, because of course you don't know where that is going to, you don't know where that is being stored, and say someone was to hack into a system like that, they have it attached to your username, well, congratulations, you just ended up getting yourself doxxed. And I think it is pretty crazy that it is so easy for somebody to do that, and obviously these social media companies are trusting things like Persona to hold this kind of data, despite telling people, hey guys, we're not holding onto your data. But then obviously a report comes out 2 days later, they're selling your data to like the government and stuff like that, which I think is crazy. So again, insane. But obviously Lucy Pyre also kind of followed up with a post here. Now, I don't know if this is in response to the YouTube comment thing. Obviously, as I said, the YouTube comment one was a joke. It's a parody. And obviously it came out like around about a similar time, this post. So again, obviously saying, no joke. What exactly are all these governments and corpos planning to do when they have everyone's IDs? What's the goal? Advertisement? Just pure surveillance? Some kind of recruitment conspiracy? All of the above? I'm dead serious. I just want to know. And yeah, I do think it is a pretty interesting conversation. What happens once they have everybody's IDs? Once they know what everybody is doing? What do they really want to do with it? And again, I do think a lot of that is advertisement, right? They want to be able to send targeted advertisement towards you to sell products, right? And you will spend money on that. They will make a profit off of that. And again, it is all just a money-making kind of scheme, right? But also, yeah, there could be other reasons, for example, like surveillance on people and what they are doing. I think that is also a pretty big one as well, depending on what kind of data is being sent out. Because obviously, as we said, Persona was sending, your data to like a kind of criminal watch list thing, where essentially it puts your face against a record, right? But again, is that why they're doing this in the first place? We don't really know. But again, a lot of people have been talking about it, saying they want to control over our lives. All of the above, yeah, pretty much. To say, or perhaps, and maybe I'm a bit forward thinking in this, they just want to protect those that are far too young from accessing said services online. Now, again, this is a topic that is brought up a lot, because this is essentially what people bring up whenever it comes to talking about this ID thing, is that essentially this is to help the kids. This is to save the kids from seeing stuff on the internet. Now, obviously, I'm under the belief that you should just be a better parent. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I think that honestly, if you can't stop your kid from looking at certain stuff online, then you probably are just a terrible parent, and you can't, you don't deserve to have a kid. Like, I'm gonna be honest, if you can't control that. And again, there's a lot of parents out there who control how much internet usage, a child has, and also what they're looking at on the internet. And I think that if you're letting your child scroll through Twitter, then you are pretty stupid, right? You are pretty stupid, and I feel like there should be some kind of like, I think there should be at least, some kind of accountability from the parents there, in the sense that they've let their child go onto a site like this where they know there's going to be certain content on there, and apparently all adults have to face the kind of, I guess, mistrust that parents have, right? Because again, that is essentially what's happening. A lot of adults are facing the consequences for stuff that bad parents can't control, right? Bad parents cannot control their kid, what they search online or whatever, because they're just bad at what they do, right? So then the government and a lot of other people go in and say, hey, we've got this new censorship stuff where you have to put your ID in to keep your kid safe online. Well, I feel like it should be up to the parents to do that. I feel like it should be up to the parents to, there's plenty of apps out there now that restrict certain websites and things. You can get website blockers for your kind of child's devices, right? So that they don't end up accidentally like stumbling upon one of these sites as well. But again, obviously some parents are too lazy. They can't be asked. And obviously now a lot of people, including, a lot of VTubers and a lot of, adults in the space, have to face the consequence of, you have to hand over your ID for literally everything. Now, of course, that is partially the case. I feel like, obviously part of that is the case, but I feel like another huge part of it is literally just to collect your data. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like, saving the kids, whatever, I feel like isn't even the main goal in it. It might potentially be a side goal, but obviously a lot of people have been kind of responding to this as well, saying signals from a Wi-Fi router can scale your brainwaves and predict what not only you're thinking, but what you will think, and you can't see a world in where they not only can police everything you ever do on the internet, but also fine you for thinking you're wrong. No wonder they call us Goyim cattle, which obviously, yeah, so good enough for a crazy rattler. They're the people that have never stopped themselves from doing something evil, who have no regard for the lives of anyone but themselves, have been proven to blank children, and will now turn around and protect said children. Sure, this is just a method to find vulnerable kids, I bet, which obviously some people are saying, yeah, that it's kind of the opposite. If we said tell parents to be more responsible without infringing on everyone else, which 100% is true, right? Think, yeah, no, I don't believe for a second that the government cares about the well-being of children. It makes for a nice excuse, though. And yeah, I think that if they really wanted to protect children in a certain way that, didn't affect stuff, for example, like taking people's IDs in, I do think that, they could come up with a better way. For example, as I said, there are many apps out there who create that have blocking systems. What if the governments or whatever, they spend their money, rather than spending their money on fighting social media sites to add IDs and stuff to their sites, what if they spend that money on creating a system, a program by them that will block all of these sites for a parent, so that they can just do it at a single press of a button? Why can't they do that? Why can't they just, kind of focus on doing something like that, which obviously does help kids and doesn't affect the adults that are still using the internet regularly, which I think would 100% be a better way of doing it. But of course, as I said, we all know that there is ulterior motives whenever it comes to this, or at least we think there is ulterior motives whenever it comes to this, which is the problem that a lot of people have been kind of talking about, right? So honestly, asking the same thing. I've heard they'll make a digital profile of you, and they say, okay, for what? And it's crickets. I say, don't they already have everyone's IDs too? I mean, the government ID, it's literally their database. Which, no, obviously a lot of it is sent into a company rather than the government itself. A lot of people would rather the government have the ID, and then you can just kind of access everything. But again, that is not the case too. People saying, yes, the end goal is total control. Your movements tracked, your speech recorded, your purchases tallied. they already do this. But imagine if you step out of line and they can shut down your ID linked bank account. They're limited the potential to spread differing opinions, which obviously, yeah, a lot of people concerned about that as well. And I do think there is this kind of, you know, big concern, I guess, that people have in terms of what is going to happen in the future. Is this going to be more and more common because there's more and more headlines coming out of people talking about this? And as I said, this is only going to, you know, I think this will affect VTubers pretty heavily, because obviously, you know, we're a VTuber channel. Obviously I went on a bit of a rant there, but you know, VTubers, this will affect heavily because of the fact that they are anonymous. Well, a lot of them are anonymous. They don't show their face. They don't, you know, show their name or whatever. But in the future, whenever companies have these databases full of your personal information, it's going to be very easy for them to track down. And yeah, obviously, a lot of people want to kind of browse the internet anonymously, but they cannot do so, right? And again, just on the cherry on top of, you know, all of the stuff going on in terms of Twitch and kind of Discord and all of the censorship and the verification and the IDs that you've really got to send over. There's also this as well. Twitch has also apparently started testing ads that won't play if the stream is minimized or muted. So essentially you have to be there listening to it the entire time to watch the ad, which I just think is even crazier, and obviously is going to make an even worse time for a lot of people out there. But again, you know, a little bit of doomer posting, I guess, for today's video, but I'm glad that people like Lucy Pyre are speaking about this and talking about it, because again, a lot of VTubers are, you know, not afraid, but they want to kind of shy away from it because it's a pretty, you know, political conversation, I guess. But I'm glad that, you know, she is speaking about it and that people are discussing this, because of course, you know, I know this is a joke, but I'm gonna be real, this could actually still happen in 2027. Like, I'm gonna be real, this could actually be a valid thing, but of course for now it is just a joke, and let's just hope it stays a joke forever. But again, as I said, I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, that's spoiling off this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kazza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.